Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. So we're getting into a little fall here. Got some foliage, really kind of sweet, simple landscape. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Just kind of going over painting some fall trees, you know, little foliage, little ground, get little shadows in there, some background trees. Patreon members get the extended version. So if you're a Patreon member, just hold on, you'll get the longer version than this. If you want to be a Patreon member, click the link in the description box below. I have extended videos, weekly exclusives. You have first dibs and watercolor workshops and retreats, all kinds of goodies for the Patreon members. And of course, it's where you support my channel, which I really, really, really appreciate. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm using Arch 100% cotton cold pressed paper. I'm just take my mechanical pencil. This is just a generic one. I don't even know what kind it is, but let's just draw in some land area here. Kind of going down like this, and we'll have like a little path. I don't know, kind of going like this, going out. I don't know, more of a vignette style. So make a path, and then we'll draw some tree trunks just to figure out where the tree's going to go. Kind of keep this kind of tilting, going up. And I don't generally like to paint my branches. Draw my branches. I like to paint them, but I'll do a few drawing ones to draw in. And I'll figure out where I'm going to put another tree, small, tiny one here. Maybe some other trees kind of back here. Maybe one's a little leaning over here. And then another tall one kind of here. This could be a pine tree or another one of these trees. I'll do another one of these trees, and then we'll do some like pine trees back here. So we'll put a few pine trees here. Just putting the lines for that. I'm not going to draw the pine tree. So I'm going to take my Princeton 12 Aqua Elite. I want to paint like a very faint background of some of the pine trees in like a grayish brown color. Oh, I already got some water in here. So ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna. Just water this down. Tea consistency, pretty light. A little bit more blue. Make it gray, grayish brown. So we're just going to take our brush. I'm going to do like a shape of a, like an evergreen. Like point up here, and you kind of wiggle it. If it's too wet, you can always tap back on your paper towel. Just kind of wiggle. I might add a little bit more burnt sienna. I don't like the color of this brown. Water this down, okay. And I'm just going to do the tips. See, kind of wiggle. It's all going to be kind of loose. Right here. See, point. I do like a point down and kind of wiggle the tip. Just like that. And then here we're going to just kind of blend it. So grab some more water. Can even add some more blue to it. I'll lift it up a little bit, and I'll grab some water and just kind of blend this down. See how wet that is? Down to the bottom. Very, very faint. Very, very light in here. You can even like lift this color so it's mystical. So if we want to just take a paper towel, kind of like lift a little color. Voila. Misty. That's how you get that misty kind of color. Going down on the landmass, we can add some more browns. So again, there's two colors. You have to play with just putting this. I'm going to add more burnt sienna in here, like more of a brownish beige color. Or maybe a little yellow. Let's get some yellow in here. Again, very, very light consistency, very tea. What I mean by tea, like the paint should be so loose and wet. It's like tea. And I'm just going down like here, my little landmass, kind of wiggling the land right there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Why I like the Arch paper, I have like this lovely tooth. You can do some great dry brushing to it. Now that's a little bit darker. kind of wiggle this land area here. It's more like a vignette style I'm going to do today. And then do some little dry brushing. Oop. Kind of coming here. See? Just like that. So I'm going to let that section dry. This has got kind of a hard line. I want to kind of loosen this up a little bit more. So I'm going to take my brush with just water and kind of lift that. Just like so. Meanwhile, we could take some of this paint, by the way, and do some like really light foliage with brown, but I'm going to add some oranges and some yellows, but I'm going to put some brown in first. And you're just taking your brush and you're kind of pushing down, tapping it, moving it around. Same thing up here. A little brown. I want like a light color brown behind it first. Then I'll go add some other colors in a bit. Just want a tinge of it. Even with just these colors right now, it's so pretty. I had little paint here. Can add a little bit more. Tip tap. Okay. So I'm going to let this dry. We'll come back in. We'll do some dry brushing. We'll get some tree trunks. You want to do it now when it's wet because it'll be a problem. Now I'm going to add some yellow tones. So I've got cadmium yellow deep. It's very, very bright. You can add a little burnt sienna to it just to tone it down. Or even like an orange. I have brilliant orange. Add some burnt sienna and brilliant orange. So we got a couple of yellowish tones happening here. We don't want them all just one flat yellow. Yellow orange. All that good stuff. So I'm going to water it down again. And do this technique where you're kind of just mushing the paint. We do want to put the branches in a little bit afterwards. See, I'm kind of tapping my brush. Just zoom in. So I'm putting it on an angle so you can see better. And just kind of pushing down and push and mush. Push and mush. And then you can kind of put it on the side a little bit. Another great thing is to use an old brush. I talked about this in one of my other tutorials. See, it's looking too like... Want a little aeration going, of course. But an old brush. I have an old brush. Let's see if I can find it now, of course. Just kind of mush your old brush. It's kind of crappy old brush and you just really destroy it. Push down on it. And you can kind of do the same thing to the paper. If you want those little light, tiny little leaves. I don't suggest using a sea sponge here. We don't want such tiny detail because we want it kind of mushed a little bit too. So here I'm grabbing some deeper yellow. Zoom back in here. I do want to keep it kind of aerated a little bit. I don't want to push a big, I don't want it to make it like a big pom-pom. So I'm going to kind of stop doing that, smushing in here, leaving it lightly aerated like that. I can add more orange tones, a little bit of brown on this guy over here. Again, don't want to mush it to like a ball. Push this down, erect the brush a little bit. See? Much better. You can kind of push. I'm grabbing thicker paint. It's a little on the bright side, but it's going to do. I'm going to add some little browns and some blue, and that will change it. And a little bit more orange. Again, like I didn't want it to be in a ball. You kind of wanted to have like go out a little bit and up a little bit. Kind of cute. This little guy down here, let's just throw a little couple smushy leaves on him. Same thing. Smush, smush. Leave it kind of aerated. Not too many things on it. All right. I'm going back to my bigger brush and I'm gonna make some evergreen color. So I'll use Prussian blue, some yellow, and then burnt umber. Or you could use a red in there. Let's see, like a pyrrole or something. It's gonna make that deeper green. Look at that. Now water it down a little bit. We're not so dark. And again, we're gonna do like that kind of method. So little greens, there's the tip of the tree, kind of going back and forth. Remember, it goes out a little bit on the bottom. They can't go straight down. So depending on how skinny you are on top, you know you're going to have to go wider on the bottom. Like that. Water evergreen. I might want to mush it too. I want to talk about that in a second. Just get some clear water and kind of push and tap back on the paper towel. See, pushing down. And so it's kind of erasing it a little bit and pushing it down into like a solid mass. And I'm going to do another one here. Wiggling back and forth. Leaving that space in between. I always want to do something in threes. I'm not going to have it. I'm going to add a little bit more brown tone to this. And just put a line down here. Add some greens. It's a little deep dark. I do want it lighter, so I'm adding more water. That's my greens. Cute, right? Different. You definitely always want them in threes. You don't want them in like just one or twos. I'm going to go back and add a little bit of brown. Water it down. And get like another background, just fairly faint, of that evergreen tree happening way in the background. Remember that misty kind of lines? And same thing here. We can do one like just that light brown, kind of wiggling back and forth. It's filling in nicely now, right? If you still want that misty, you can kind of mush it a little bit on the bottom and over here. Okay. All right, we're going to get a little bit deeper of my browns, burnt sienna, a little bit ultramarine blue deep, and adding in some deeper tones now. And I just kind of go like this on the side. Dry brushing a little bit. Keeping it simple. Some little grasses. A little dry brush on the road here. Take a tip of your brush. Draw some grasses. If you want to get this even darker. Trying to keep it light. Don't want to go too dark. I'm going to get a little bit darker still. I'll add a little bit more ultramarine blue deep. And burnt sienna again. For deeper browns. So we're going to put a few of these out here. Pull up the brush a little bit. And then of course down here and down here. This is like a little area that, you know, the mountain went down this way. We're just playing with it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a little bit dark in some areas. I'm going to play with some grasses going up. A little bit deeper, darker here. And I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into this color. Maybe a little bit of orange too. Just want to change up this color. It's very brown. Some sweet oranges in here. And some color over in here too. has a little bit more life to it, right? This looks a very, very pale. Could add a little yellow too. Kind of reflecting the trees. Just have some fun with the color. Yeah, I'm liking that better. And we have this lovely color back here. I'm just gonna grab some gray. So ultramarine blue deep again, mix it with that burnt sienna and get some nice gray, water it down. I'm just gonna put some gray back here. I know we had the mist, but I don't know if I like it so much. I'm gonna kind of blend this gray. It looks better to me. It looks much like it. Look like it was floating before. So now we're gonna let that dry and add our trees and we'll be done. So for tree color, again, I use these two colors, ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna, maybe a little bit more burnt sienna. And the consistency, again, water it down, and I'll put my first pass of this tree in like a light brown. We'll add some more depth in a minute. Same thing with these guys. The trunk itself, by the way, just a little bit thicker. I'll start using my liner brush in a second, but I'm gonna just put the trunk in with this Princeton 8 long round, going up into the tree branch here. This one's coming over in a bit, but I'm gonna put that somewhat light color brown in first. And we've got some tree back here, and the tree branch, oops, still a little wet. So a little bit wet, I had to make sure it was dry. Go back in here and put the tree, the thicker parts of the trunk with this 8 long round. Then I'll go use my liner brush for the nice skinny lines. And we have a tree up front here too. And we have this going to the lovely evergreen tree. So I just put that nice first wash of the light brown, thicker kind of tree trunk and branches. And I'll go back in after it's dry and add in the darker tones. I can take the light tones too right now with the liner brushes, Princeton Umbria number 4 liner. There's lots of liner brushes. So again, just go out here. This is my little technique. You kind of whip it like this. It makes a better branch. A little more stylized. You don't have to be so crazy. Kind of crisscross some of these over, out. It's a very pale right now. The one's going up and out and on the orange. I'm gonna get them a little bit darker in a minute. This guy. Put a branch that's kind of like lost its leaves down here. I love this pale color. We'll add the darker tone in a second. Kind of come up over here. Got these little ones coming out. Peeking through some of the foliage here. And kind of over here. Peeking through. And then this one should have some more branches off of that. So it's pretty pale right now, but we'll get some deeper color in a second. We'll add more of the ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna. So now it's much darker and thicker, you see that? And I would kind of put that darker tone kind of on the left side of the tree. And then you can kind of put some of these deeper lines for the branches. So here's that darker color. This one, I'm going to get a little bit deeper in some of these branches. I still like to keep it fairly light. You know, you don't want to see this massive dark tree trunk. Your eye is going to go right to that. I'm losing some color, so I have to mix up some more. Just a simple little vignette to get you in that fall mood. Put the little branches out here, kind of weaken up, like breaking up through the foliage. Now my foliage is very pale. I think it's sweet. If you wanted to make it deeper and darker and more robust, do that. Play around. Now this line of brush is great for grasses, and put some grasses down here and back here, and definitely here. Love a liner brush for grasses. It's my favorite friend. And like I said, I'm making it a little bit deeper with some of this. It's really going to like pop the color if it's darker on that one side. As you can see, same thing with the branches. And put some grasses on the bottom here. You could spend a lifetime making branches. Very therapeutic, by the way, if you've not noticed. I just like to paint them. And I find that the liner brushes are the best. They're your friend for branches. So once you have that, I'm going to put a few more grasses in here and add a few more details of the dark tones. Some grasses right on there. And some shadows, a little bit of shadow. So the light is coming from this way because the shadow, the dark side of the tree is on the left. You know the shadow is going to be that way too. What I would do is just grab some more ultramarine blue deep. Just mix it right in with these guys. Can add a little bit of red to it. It's going to look purpley shadow. And just take a little bit and go like that to the left. And even some of these little grasses. And just give it a little shadow. I do want to make my yellows a little bit more robust. And the blue. Just giving it some kind of shadow going on here. Now, you don't have to do that. You don't have to add that. You can leave it, but I thought it would needed it. And I'm going to just clean up my stuff here and get some more color happening. For the last bit, go back in, thick paint. Look at that, it's really bright. I might want to dull it down with a little burnt sienna, even look a little, if I add the blue, it's going to turn green. So I'll add a little, whatever you want, some red. That's kind of a duller yellow. Let's get a little bit brighter. Water this down. I don't want it too bright. Go back over some of these areas that we kind of just lost. We lost our way. Adding that yellow tree. Little teeny ones on the end. Again, we don't want lollipop trees, so adding in some out here. You could splatter. I don't suggest it. You want to keep it sweet on this one. Getting some orange in here. Some brighter orange. Sometimes it's fun to splatter, and sometimes I feel like it's so not necessary. And this is a vignette. I don't suggest it. It will kind of lose its sweetness. I'm going to put a little bit orange in here. And don't forget to put some little bit coming on the ground a little bit. It's, you know, leaves are falling on the ground. Put a few there. I'm just tapping that. And this little guy should have some color. And some leaves in the bottom. It will dry later, so, you know, if you're putting like a lot of color in there. Just a simple vignette. And, you know, might add a little bit more green. Let's get some green in here. And some of the leaves here, like they haven't turned, they're falling. Putting a little green in here, just tapping around. And maybe adding some orange too. And a little bit of yellow. I just thought it was like, I know it's sitting there white and kind of light. I just didn't like it. You could add some more red tones. I have cadmium red light. Add some of that and down here. Again, I'm just kind of mushing with my brush. Nothing special. And you have that fall, beautiful foliage. Playing around with that. Do a little dry brushing here. Just to give it some more color. Emphasis of having fun. And some greens because, you know, the grass would be green too a little bit. So I'm adding some greens, mixing it up so they're a little dull on those oranges and stuff. Throwing in a little bit of green in here. The vignette of fun. Voila. So I hope this was fun. If you're a Patreon member, you can watch the extended version. If you want to become a Patreon member, click the link in the description box below. And, you know, have fun painting trees. It can be so much fun to paint trees in the autumn. Don't go too crazy with, you know, branches and splattering and all that stuff. So I hope you had fun. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.